Yeah, I like where we're at. I tell the guys all the time there's three things you have to do to win in conference play on the road. One, you have to be willing to play, extremely hard for 40 minutes every single possession, whether you're involved in the play or away from the play or whether the play looks hopeless or easy. You just got to be willing to play as hard as you possibly can, and I'm confident that our guys understand that. Number two, you have to execute some type of scouting report. We know Iowa State. Iowa State knows us. Over this break, I've watched every game they've played, and I'm sure that their coach has done the same. We've had 4 or 5 days in preparation with our players, just like they have. So, in a lot of ways, it's going to come down to a thinking game. There's some things that we have to get done to be successful. So you have to really execute that part. And then thirdly, you can't beat yourself. And that's something that our teams have done a great job over the years. This team this year is doing a good job on that. You can't get technical fouls. You can't lose your composure. Selfishness can't creep in this time of year. So effort, intelligence with a scouting report, and not beating yourselves are three things that will have to be key this week.
Coach, could you speak to their transition offense and the way they've been stealing the ball so far? It seems like they've been doing just a really good job of that.
Yeah, they're an up-tempo team. They definitely like to score in the first 7 or 8 seconds. When they don't get those opportunities, and they just simply use their talent with great spacing, pick-and-roll game, a future NBA point guard. So they're really well coached. I saw it firsthand last year in the tournament where we played them in the second round. I got a lot of respect for their players and their coaching staff.
This Iowa State team looks very multidimensional and versatile. They go 4 out, 1 in. They also run 4 guards, but your guys also do that. So how do you feel about this matchup as far as X's and O's are concerned?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the game goes. We'd like to play our best players on the court, and they'd like to play their best players. But within that, matchups are going to have to exist. Like our bigs are going to have to be able to guard out on the perimeter if we expect to play them all at the same time. But I'm sure we present some problems for them too. So, there's a fine line in basketball. You have to be you. You have to do the things you do well, but you also have to embrace the competition in the scouting report in each game. So it'll be interesting to see, I think, in the first 5 or 6 minutes of this game, kind of how the matchups play out.
Coach, you've got experience coaching in the Big 12 when you were here before, and you got returning players who have a lot of experience playing in the Big 12 right now. How does that mix work with the players who have no experience in the Big 12?
Well, we really don't have many of those guys. Naeem Stevenson was a junior college All-American. He hasn't played in a Big 12 game, but he has played in 12 Division I games at this point. And so I don't think – I know this. We're not going to use that as an excuse. I'm not going to sit up here in a couple of days and talk about, our lack of experience hurt us. I just don't believe that. At this point in the year, we've played road games at Richmond. We've had different styles of play at home. We've been in close games against Rice as well as Iowa State too. So I've never really bought into the experience factor by the time you start conference play.
When you look at Iowa State, you've got the film from Tech last year and the film that they've had this year. What are you looking more at for trying to figure out this Iowa State team?
Well, obviously this year they have different personnel, but they do a lot of the similar things. George NBA is in the NBA now, but Burton does a lot of the same things. Morris has done what all great college players do. He's improved. And they've added some really good pieces. Naz is back. I was happy for him to get the 5th year because he's a really good player. So, but in a lot of ways they play like last year's team, but then they have a new wrinkle too. You see a lot more, I think, of the coach's personality in this team, whereas last year I thought that he did a great job just stepping in, not changing things, kind of doing what Fred had done, putting his own touch on it as the season went on, whereas this year it looks a lot like his really good Murray State teams in some ways.
And when you look at your team going into Big 12 play, is it kind of nice knowing that your first game is on the road so that it's kind of you against the world mentality on that first kind of stage?
Yeah, I don't know. Big 12 games are a lot of things, but I never really think they're nice. I don't it's just a tough league. You're going to have to play these games at some point, so whether it's at home or on the road or in what order, I don't think really matters. We've got 9 of the toughest road games in college basketball, and then we got to protect our home court against 9 of the best teams in the country here in the last couple of months. And so what I love as a competitor, though, is this is the time of year I get excited, and I think our players embrace that too. Like, we don't think we're better than anybody else. We understand how difficult this is going to be, but we welcome the challenge. I mean, this is why you sign up to play in the Big 12. This is why you take jobs like this. This is why you sign scholarships to play in the Big 12, because you want to play against this kind of competition. And to me, that's where it all starts. This is fun. This isn't this isn't anything but fun. I mean, it's fun to have the opportunity to play against the best teams in the country, and I think our guys share that vision. Our locker room, it's felt a little bit different this week in practice. The film sessions have felt a little bit different. There's a little bit more pop going on, and I think it's because we're about to play on one of the greatest stages in college basketball, the Big 12.
Monte Morris already has 63 assists this year. Seems like he's just distributing it really well. What have you seen out of him so far this year as one of the more veteran players in the Big 12?
Yeah, he's a pro. What I mean by that is he takes what the game gives him. He's more than capable of scoring 25 points if the teams need that. He's more than capable of getting 12 or 13 assists. He's also plays great defense on the other end. I got a lot of respect for his game. We don't have one guy on our roster that can guard him one-on-one, so we'll have to play team defense against him. But he does a great job with their team in so many different ways.
Iowa State, they're leading the conference right now in rebounding, which is so impressive because they have such of a smaller lineup. They just rebound from the guard spots so well. How much do you challenge your guards to be able to help on the glass with the front court? Just headed into Ames this weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely a focal point, right? Morris is, one of the best point guards in the country, and he averages 5 or 6 rebounds a game, and he does it on both ends. Those guards will go to the offensive glass too, and so rebounding. There's a relationship, I guess, between size and rebounding, but way more important than size is tenacity, fight, athleticism, going to the board, and that's what Iowa State does. Sometimes all 5 positions go offensive rebound, and it'd be a real challenge for us on the boards. I think in a lot of ways the way the rebounding battle goes is the way this game will go.
Aside from not turning the ball over on offense, what do you think will be key from a defensive standpoint to control the tempo, especially when they're in the half court?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. Our transition defense has got to start with our offense. You take a bad shot, a quick shot, you get your shot blocked, you turn the ball over. Iowa State's as good as anybody I've ever seen in conversion. It's hard to find a possession where they don't convert on the other end. If we were in pro basketball, I'd just be fouling them at half court every time we took a bad shot or turn it over, but we can't quite do that. But definitely our defense is going to start with our offense. Once we get into the half court, we're just going to have to guard really good players that are well coached and they're spaced out. And so, we got some different things we're going to try to get done. We have some, secondary levels of our game plan. If what we hope works doesn't work, we have some different ideas. But more than anything, it's just we have great respect for their players, and they're really well coached with the way they space the floor. So it's going to be a challenging guard for us.
Talk about the health of the team right now. Earlier in the season, you were begging for health. Now, talk about where you are, and could you give us an update on Gio?
Yeah, sure. With our health, it was great to see Ross get back on the court before Christmas. He's still not at 100%, so we've been trying to kind of watch his practice reps, but we expect him to have a great Big 12 season. At the same time, try to improve his health as we go on. It was great to see Norrance back on the floor last game. He's not 100%, but we are expecting to play him some, and I think his rehab process is going to continue as well. Other than that, we're like every other team. We've got some bumps and bruises. With Gio, it's never something that any coach enjoys. We want the best for all of our players, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. But we respect Gio's decision. We thank him for everything he did for Tech basketball, and we wish him nothing but the best in the future.
Just last couple thoughts. How much you challenge Devin Thomas and Keenan headed into a game like this, playing and potentially, I would imagine, guarding somebody like Monte Morris, who has a NBA future, it looks like.
Yeah, we've been challenging those guys since the first day of practice. This time of year, I'm just excited to see him play on this stage. I got a lot of confidence in Keenan and the work he's put in and how he's taken the next step in his game. It's well documented how Devin's playing this season, and so I'm just looking forward to watching these guys play on this stage. The great thing about it is, we have 18 of these games, and then we have a quality game against an SEC opponent, LSU. So we have 19 games left this season, and they're all going to be this challenging, whether they're on the home or on the road. So the big thing for our players, and I hope that our guys feel this way, but I just want to instill confidence in them. I want them to feel good about our game plan, to feel good about what we're trying to get done. More than anything, I'm looking forward to coaching these guys on this kind of stage because I have a lot of confidence in our players.
Not to look too much back to last season, but just given how things went at Little Rock last year, you guys win that first NCAA tournament game. You play Iowa State in the second round, and they end up ending your season. Just what that was like walking off the floor after that season, and then the whirlwind before you came to Texas Tech.
Yeah, it was only one coach in college basketball walks off the floor in a good mood, and that's on a Monday night, around 10:30, one shining moment, and then the rest of us had the same kind of emotions, But certainly with that team, I was just proud of the run we were on. We knew Iowa State. We were going to play almost a perfect game to play. So there wasn't any kind of regret or anything. It's one thing I tell our players all the time. The worst thing you can do in life when you get to be my age or older and stuff is just have regrets. And so I think for the most part this season, we're playing this thing to the bone, no regrets. And so now in the Big 12, that's going to be the thing. We're going to try to give ourselves a chance in these 19 games. We're going to try to play the game the right way. We're going to try to play with great effort. We're going to try to play with intelligence to execute scouting reports, and we're never going to beat ourselves. And so it's just excited to get this thing started at Iowa State here in a couple of days.